Every morning at Fort Jackson begins the same way. Boots strike gravel in perfect rhythm. Rifles rise from racks, are inspected, wiped clean, lifted again. The rule is not spoken aloud because it does not need to be. A soldier carries a weapon. A soldier is prepared to kill. The rule predates the men who enforce it, older than the war waiting beyond the Atlantic and the Pacific. It is drilled into muscle memory through repetition. March, halt, fire, repeat, until obedience replaces hesitation. Training is designed to erase individuality. Barracks inspections come before sunrise. Beds are tightened until they resemble boards. Lockers are aligned with surgical precision. In the mess hall, conversation dissolves into routine noise, tin plates clattering, coffee swallowed without taste. The smell of oil, sweat, and wet canvas seeps into uniforms and never quite leaves. Recruits learn to disassemble and reassemble an M1 Garand until fingers move without conscious thought. Mistakes are corrected immediately, loudly, publicly. The rule works because it simplifies fear. You are taught that survival belongs to the man who reacts fastest, who follows orders without pause, who trusts the system more than his own doubt. Obedience becomes emotional shelter. Responsibility flows upward. If something goes wrong, the failure belongs to doctrine, not the individual. A rifle in your hands means you belong. Without it, you stand exposed, not only to enemy fire, but to suspicion. Belief hardens into identity. The uniform is not just clothing, it is proof of compliance. Silence during drill is rewarded. Questioning is punished. Over time, the rule becomes invisible, accepted as natural law. Armies have functioned this way for centuries. They win wars this way. Desmond Doss enters this system like a fault line beneath concrete. He reports on time. His uniform is clean. His salute is precise. But when rifles are issued, his hands remain empty. He refuses to carry a weapon. Not during training, not in combat, not under any circumstance. He does not argue. He does not raise his voice. He says it is because of faith, because of a belief formed long before the army claimed him. The institution responds predictably. Pressure comes first. Mockery follows. Then punishment, extra duty, isolation, whispers in the barracks. Some soldiers call him a coward. Others call him dangerous. Officers warn him that the battlefield will not bend for conscience. The silence around him thickens. Obedience shields men from doubt. Disobedience strips that shield away. Still, the routine continues. Marching, cleaning, waiting. The army assumes the system will break him or expel him, because rules that have held for generations do not fail for one man. Not in wartime, not when hesitation is measured in casualties. But in 1945, on a jagged ridge of coral and mud in the Pacific, the men of the 77th Infantry Division understand the war in fragments. Newspaper headlines, casualty lists pinned to boards, rumors traded between units. They know the Pacific is a chain of islands whose names blur together: Guadalcanal, Saipan, Iwo Jima. They know the Japanese army rarely surrenders. They know replacements arrive faster than explanations. Strategy exists somewhere above their rank, filtered down as objectives and coordinates. Okinawa feels different the moment they land. The air is heavy, wet, metallic. Wind carries salt from the sea and the smell of decay from inland. Rain falls without warning, turning paths into mud that grips boots like hands. The terrain rises in abrupt steps, ridges, escarpments, cliffs that fracture sightlines and swallow sound. Villages are empty, civilians are gone. What remains is rock, water, and the constant distant thunder of artillery. Daily rhythm settles into waiting. Waiting for orders. Waiting for mail. Waiting for the next push. Men joke about home, about food they miss, about women they hope still remember them. Gallows humor fills the space where certainty should be. At night, flares bloom overhead, bathing the ground in white light before vanishing. Everyone pretends to sleep. They know there is a ridge ahead, the Maeda Escarpment, roughly 400 feet high, a sheer face of jagged coral that must be climbed by rope and ladder. Intelligence reports suggest fortified positions, caves, trenches, prepared fields of fire. How many defenders? Unclear. How deep the fortifications run? Unknown. The enemy remains invisible until he is close. Desmond Doss moves among them as a medic. He carries bandages, plasma, morphine syringes. No rifle. His presence still causes friction. Some men avoid him. Others tolerate him because medics are useful. No one fully trusts that usefulness yet. The calm stretches too long. When orders finally arrive, they feel abrupt, almost intrusive. Ladders are prepared. Equipment is checked repeatedly. Naval guns offshore begin to fire, their concussions rolling through the ground into boots and bones. Each blast flattens distant hills and sends vibrations through the body. There is an unspoken understanding that this place will not forgive mistakes. Clouds hang low, trapping smoke and sound. Men clean weapons they will soon fire until barrels grow hot to the touch. Doss checks his medical kit by feel, memorizing placement because darkness and noise will steal vision. No one says it aloud, but everyone feels it. Whatever happens here will happen fast, and it will happen close. You are Desmond Doss, 26 years old, raised in Lynchburg, Virginia. Working class, limited formal education, Seventh-day Adventist. Your faith is not abstract. It governs diet, rest, and the way you understand violence. You learned early that belief can cost you acceptance. You also learned that abandoning it costs more. You enlisted because you believed the war was just. You also believed your role in it did not require killing. That distinction has followed you through training like a shadow. Courts-martial threatened, officers frustrated, fellow soldiers angry. You remained because leaving would have meant betraying both country and conscience. You are not fearless. You feel the same tightening in your chest as the men around you. You know what artillery does to flesh because you trained on the aftermath. You know you are smaller than many of the men you may have to carry. You know you cannot save everyone. This posting matters because it ends the argument. Combat will decide what training could not. If you fail, the judgment will be permanent. If you succeed, it may still be misunderstood. You keep a small Bible folded in your pocket. You do not read it now. There is no time. You listen to straps being tightened, helmets adjusted, jokes cut off mid-sentence. You smell oil, damp canvas, and mud. You repeat the same prayer you always do. Lord, help me get one more. The contradiction tightens. You refuse a weapon in a place designed to kill you. You accept the risk because you believe your hands exist for another purpose. You do not know how many times that belief will be tested. You only know that when the first man falls, hesitation will not be an option. Orders come, movement begins. Ladders lean against the escarpment. The ridge waits, silent, vertical, indifferent. You climb with the others, unarmed, committed, knowing that what happens next cannot be undone. The tactical math is brutal. Companies must scale the escarpment under fire. Japanese defenders occupy prepared positions above, caves carved into rock, trenches connected by tunnels, machine gun nests with overlapping fields of fire. Mortars are pre-registered. Time matters because daylight is limited and exposure is absolute. Distances shrink and expand unpredictably. The cliff face offers no cover. Once on top, the plateau, later called Hacksaw Ridge, funnels attackers into narrow kill zones. Retreat means descending under fire. Advance means crossing open ground already measured by enemy gunners. Radio traffic fractures into clipped fragments. Moving now, taking fire, man down. Officers calculate losses in seconds. Withdraw and abandon the wounded. Advance and accept more casualties. Doss reaches the top with the first wave. The ridge detonates into noise. Mortar rounds thump and scatter coral shards like shrapnel. Rifle fire cracks from unseen angles. Men fall. Some scream, some do not. Then the order comes. Withdraw. Confusion spreads. Units pull back toward the edge. The wounded are everywhere, on open ground, in shell holes, near the lip of the cliff. Leaving them means death. Staying means isolation. You feel the decision lock in. Go with the others and survive. Stay and risk everything for men who once doubted you. Your hands shake. Your mouth dries. You repeat the prayer. You stay. The last boots disappear over the edge. The ridge goes quiet in a way that feels wrong. You are alone, with the wounded, the enemy above and around you, and no weapon between you and either. Artillery resumes. Shells land in irregular rhythms, throwing dirt, smoke, and coral fragments. You crawl toward the first wounded man. He bleeds from the leg, arterial, bright. You pack the wound, tie it off, and begin to drag him. Your fingers slip on blood and mud. He groans, but remains conscious. You reach the cliff. The drop measures roughly 400 feet. A rope hangs from earlier climbs. You secure the man, lower him hand over hand. Your shoulders burn. You whisper the prayer. He vanishes into smoke. You turn back. Rifle fire snaps overhead. You flatten against the ground, wait for the pause, then crawl again. Another man, shrapnel in the back. Morphine, bandage, lift, drag. Each movement costs more breath. Enemy voices carry through the smoke. Japanese soldiers repositioning, calling. Grenades detonate nearby. You freeze, then continue. Time fractures into moments. There is only the next action. Another descent, then another. Minutes bleed into hours. You lose count. Your hands cramp. Your legs tremble. You cannot stop because stopping invites thought. A grenade lands close. The blast throws you. Heat sears your legs. Pain registers, but nothing breaks. You crawl. Night falls. Darkness thickens. The ridge becomes a maze of sound, moans, distant shouts, the hiss of rain on hot metal. You choose the voices you can reach. At dawn, the enemy attacks again. You are still there. You move under fire, pulling men from positions overrun minutes earlier. A sniper's round grazes your arm. You tear fabric from your sleeve and continue. If you find this kind of forgotten military history as fascinating as we do, we'd be honored if you'd hit that subscribe button. These stories of courage and sacrifice deserve to be remembered, and subscribing helps ensure they are. Hours blur. Below, officers notice men arriving over the rope again and again. They count because counting is all they can do. Numbers vary later. Doss will estimate around 50. Others will say closer to 100. The official figure settles at 75. In this moment, the number does not matter. Each man is singular. You are wounded again, shrapnel in the leg. You refuse evacuation. You treat yourself. You crawl. Eventually, no one is left calling. When firing fades, the ridge feels emptied. Smoke drifts. Bodies remain. You collapse, not in relief, but in exhaustion so deep it feels like absence. Medics reach you later. They ask how many. You cannot answer. Below, names are checked, faces recognized. The count rises. 75 becomes the number that holds, not because it is precise, but because it is possible. The unit regroups. Losses are severe. The ridge will be taken days later. Men who doubted you avoid your eyes. Enemy reports later note unexpected resistance and recovery of wounded. They cannot account for the medic without a weapon. You are evacuated only after being wounded again in a later action. You give your stretcher to another soldier and are injured further as a result. The war continues without you. This is unbelievable to anyone. No one yet understands how narrow the margin was between survival and silence. Desmond Doss returns home alive but altered. His body carries permanent damage. In October 1945, President Harry S. Truman awards him the Medal of Honor, the first conscientious objector to receive it. Truman's words are remembered imperfectly, but the sentiment remains. The men he saved scatter back into civilian life. Some survive the war, some do not. Names fade, ages remain frozen. Doctrine does not change overnight. Armies still carry weapons, but an exception enters history. Courage does not require a gun. Doss lives quietly. He avoids attention. He keeps his faith. He dies in 2006. What matters is not the number. What matters is that under impossible conditions, one man stayed. That choice still echoes. Sometimes, courage means staying when the easiest choice is to walk away. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Every click tells the algorithm this piece of history is worth remembering. We're dedicated to rescuing these forgotten stories from the archives. If you want to join us on this mission, subscribe and turn on notifications. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment with your city or country and tell us if someone in your family served. Thank you for ensuring that Desmond Doss and the 75 men of the 307th Infantry Regiment do not disappear into silence. They deserve to be remembered.